What's up, y'all? Snipes and Snarf Blast, your unauthorized place for Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm. As usual, I'm your host, Jason, and you see it on my chest. You know where just came from. I just came from Captain Marvel watching Goose the Cat do what Goose the Cat does best, and that's just be totally reeking of awesomeness. And this movie also totally reeked of awesomeness. And I say it in that way because this thing just oozed 90s nostalgia. We're going to go into my real first thoughts on Captain Marvel, and coming straight out, y'all, I really liked this. I mean, it's not on the level of your Avengers or your Civil War or something to that extent, you know what I'm saying? Just mainly because it doesn't have the epicness. But gladly, I would put this right beside some of my favorites like Doctor Strange and Ant-Man and just Guardians for that matter. I mean, it was really it was a great movie. And it was a great movie in the fact that I didn't feel exhausted in epicness like I do when I watch those other ones. That yes, they're on a higher tier of moviedom, but I don't feel like I bring them out and watch them as much. I was just telling my daughter that Doctor Strange, I've probably watched that movie more than any of the Marvel Universe movies just because it's got a big rewatchability factor to this. And that's how this one is too. This one has a real rewatchability factor. Because, I mean, I just highly enjoyed myself while watching this. I had so much fun with this. And the way they did it was just mind-blowing. Like, for everything I thought, I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I loved it. Because that's one of the things I really love in movies the most. I know we all like to speculate and say what's going to happen and draw on this and this. But I like it more when I'm wrong because I want the movie makers to give me a movie. Give me something I've never seen before. If I was going to come up with what was happening, I might as well write it myself, and then we ain't got to go to these things and watch them. We'll just write out what we think's going to happen, read it, and be like, yay! And I don't want that. I wanted what I got out of this. And I mean, twists and turns abound. I won't get into any spoilers here, and it's going to be really hard because the misdirection for all the marketing and even the trailers in this thing was real, y'all. There was some misdirection here that I was not expecting. And don't get into any spoilers before you watch this movie at all, because that's what keeps this movie fresh. It's got a real, Star Trek sci-fi feel to it, but not so Star Trek that it's the Star Trek that, turned folks off. This is just a real classic sci-fi feel to it that was pulled off just great. And I mean, the way they told this story, obviously, she has amnesia, so we got a backwards kind of origin to this, where as you start the film, she's Captain Marvel, right? But she's Captain Marvel, the Kree warrior. She has no idea who she is, and that she had this whole life that you've already seen. So, little by little, that's what we build up through this movie until we really get to her origin. And I think that was one of the coolest parts, was the pace setting of her, because when it comes down to it, I will at least give this. They said she's the most powerful hero in the Marvel Universe. They show that. They show that to a level where at some points I almost think, for the contents of what's going on, she was overpowered as a hero. Because, I mean, man. But that's why the pacing of the story is the way it is. Because by the time you get to that overpoweredness, you're in just this awesome finale that they give you. And it was just, it shows her supreme amount of power without really, like I said, using the overpowerness to the point where you get bored, I guess, is where I'm getting at. Because, I mean, like I said, for a very overpowered character, this was the way to tell the origin story. And I can't wait to see where they go next with the character of Captain Marvel, because she was just amazing. And I want to see this character throw hands with a character that's on the same power level of her, because I think it'll just be just awe-inspiring awesomeness. And just wow, to see her in a fight with a character of her power finally, it's going to be amazing on so many levels, because they were right. This is probably the most powerful character you've seen in the Marvel Universe. I get why they say that now, because at some points I was like, whoa, this is going to be almost anticlimactic. But then they made sure that they go with that and they build on it, and it ends the way you want it to end, and you want more, because like I said, you want to see where this character can go. And to me, this is one of the most comic book feeling movies we've seen. Like I said, I put it on the Doctor Strange level for rewatchability, and but more so than that, this felt more comic book than all of them. All the other ones feel more real life, and this one treats its alienness and amazingness just like that, because it's on a whole nother level than those of comic bookness. And this is going to definitely usher in, though not the way I thought, because like I said, a lot of unexpected when it comes to this movie. The misdirection is real. But just, we're about to step in that higher echelon of comic books. You can tell. We're getting into the sweatiest of nerdydom, and it shows. The awe-inspiring aspect of the sci-fi here is on a whole nother level of galaxy building, because it's got a whole different contrast to the gun stuff and the Ragnarok stuff, and just a whole nother just new galaxy develops here, in which they really are starting to flesh out a giant galaxy when it comes to the MCU, and they're not really closing themselves off, and I like that. You get to see more that you haven't seen before. Now, pound for pound, Brie Larson was great as Captain Marvel, but I've got to say, when it really comes down to it, Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, this man stole every scene he was in. He was great. The age recognition technology, we have that so perfect that I didn't even question that we didn't just pluck Samuel L. Jackson out of Long Kiss Goodnight and put him right here in front of us to play in a movie that was literally set in the 90s. Like, this... And speaking of 90s, they just 90s it out. The nostalgia factor of this thing was leveled up to I thought I was in high school. The soundtrack, just the references, everything. They were just golden, and not peppered in so much that they took you out and were like, okay, here we go again, another nostalgia joke. They were just put in there in a realistic, perfect fashion. But Nick Fury, this man stole every single scene as 90s Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, and he was great. The buddy copness between him and Brie Larson was just totally on point, and probably one of the most entertaining points of the movie to me. And another person that just chewed up scenery when he was around and has to be mentioned was Mendelsohn. Mendelsohn as Talos, the Skrull, was just epic. I was not expecting this out of this character. I guess I was expecting a Krennic, like a Rogue One type character still, and no, this is a whole different aspect to him as a villain and as a character, and I absolutely loved it. Jude Law, as Jan Rog, he was perfect for how they used him and what they wanted him to be. Even though in the first couple scenes I was like, oh man, I don't know about this, but they did it great. They took some bold decisions with the history of Captain Marvel that really worked out well and kept everybody, even the person that people like me that's entrenched in this comic book stuff and really know it well, it kept us on our toes, and I liked that about this, because like I said, I want to be surprised when I watch a movie, and this is exactly what this movie did to me. It surprised me in so many different ways, and without getting into any spoilers, I will say you'll definitely, even if you were just uncanny at knowing what's going to happen next, this is going to throw you some curveballs, even for the deepest people in comic lore. So, like I said, 2 thumbs up, definitely a rewatchable movie. I would go see this in the theater. I actually wish I would have saw it in a bigger theater, but like I said, tickets were going for this thing so fast that I couldn't even get in, so I had to see it in 3D. I actually commended the 3D. It did look really good in 3D, but these sci-fi movies always do. So but an excellent sci-fi theming. If you're really into sci-fi, you're going to love this movie. Excellent superhero comic book feeling. If you're into these superhero comic book movies, you are going to love this movie. There is no reason for anyone who hasn't liked the 22 movies up to this point to not love this movie. People were clapping at the end. Speaking of the end, definitely watch both of the after credit scenes. The first one you're gonna love the most. The second one's just more of like a comic relief type thing. But the first one you're gonna love the most. But definitely check them out. Stay for this. I would highly recommend this movie to anyone. It was very, very entertaining. Like I said, it opened up worlds you haven't seen yet. It gave you real deep looks into these worlds. And along the way, also peppered in some little worlds here and there. Everything having its own distinct view, like I was mentioning earlier. And it expanded the galaxy to a bigger place. And that's what the MCU needs to do the most if they're really going to get into this giant, mega, just galactic thing that was the Kirbyverse. And I have a feeling there are some amazing things to come, and Endgame is just going to open up the floodgates to it, and I really can't wait. Like I said, a lot of the things I thought was going to happen without getting the spoilers didn't happen. You'll see them if you see what I've been saying about this movie on the show and in my writing, and everything that surprised me, perfect, y'all. Thank you for all of that. That was an amazing one from Marvel Studios. I can't wait to see more. And the best thing about that is Endgame is right around the corner, and we can almost hold our breath to when this thing comes out. So until then, that's all my first thoughts on this film. If you want to see more, get more in depth to it, I'll probably throughout the weekend write a review to these, as I always do, because I like to sit and digest it and really think about it so I can get into all the characters maybe that I missed, or get into some of the storyline that I missed, because this really is just my first thoughts right off rip coming out of the theater. But 2 thumbs up, go see this, you will not be disappointed. To keep up with anything else coming up, like what I was just talking about when I write the review, check down the links. There will be a link to the website, there will be a link to our Facebook, and our link to Twitter. You'll know exactly when they come up if you subscribe to us, or you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And while you're at it, subscribe to us on YouTube while you're down there. Check us out on Instagram. We got a whole bunch of park pictures and stuff, food reviews. Just follow us on everything. Hit all those links down there and just follow, subscribe, and hit the bell to keep up with everything as it happens every day. And I will see you much sooner than later, because Dumbo's right around the corner, not to mention the weekly show. So subscribe, hit the bell, get the notifications, follow us down there, and all of those links you can follow us in. And be the best you can be.